In this Schrade Saturday video, we're going to take a look at something a little different from Schrade. It's the ST10 multi-tool. Coming up on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. If you listen very closely, you'll probably hear the dogs in this one because they are barking again. Anyway, the folks at Schrade were kind enough to send me one of their ST10 multi-tools so I could show it to you, and that's what we're about to do. So you've seen a lot of Schrade knife reviews on here. I think there's only been one other multi-tool, and this is significantly different from that one. So I'll put a link to that video below if you're interested in checking it out. But I think I like this one better. Let's take a look at it. We'll get you down to the old stump top, talk about this thing. Okay, so here's the ST10 multi-tool from the folks at Schrade. First of all, let's just get this out of the way. This thing folds up just like this. The blades are accessed from the inside, not the outside. And then it has a nice little molded nylon belt sheath. So fits very well in there. And you know, it's got some structure to it, so you don't have to worry about having trouble getting your tool back in there. So we'll put that out of the way now. So all the components of the ST10 are made of 2 CR13 stainless steel. That is definitely not the highest quality steel that's available, but this thing is $16 on Amazon. That's right, you heard it right, $16. So I think to compare this to a $90 Leatherman is probably not fair. So let's just take the features one at a time and we'll talk about them. First of all, it's needle nose pliers, and you can see the ends of it are needle nose. And if you look, one thing it really impressed me, let's see if I can get it to focus on here. Look at the ends of those things. You see how well they mate? I mean, those are really well done. That's kind of unusual in a lower priced multi-tools in my experience. Then we have the regular pliers, which is like the big thing here. We've got some wire cutters down here on the bottom. Then we've got, as far as the blades go, got a fine edge blade, which is a regular blade, and it does not lock. Okay, that's one thing I'll point out, it does not lock. So if you want to use that blade, what I would suggest doing is closing the handle here, and what that'll do is that'll prevent it from closing on your hand if you need to. It's just a little safety. So maybe it doesn't even need a lock, but we'll try a little bit of carving with this thing to see how well it does feather sticking, because this may be one of their few knives that does not have a hollow grind. I can't really tell. But, you know, it's okay. It gets the job done. It cuts just fine. And, I mean, that's the bottom line. Probably not going to be your primary knife, but if you need a multi-tool, it's got a good blade on it. So there we go. Got the fine edge blade. Then we have a small Phillips head, which is here. I like the fact that the small Phillips head has a long enough of shaft on it. You can get into a slight recessed area, and a lot of times you can't do that. Then we have a can opener, which is just like a standard old school can opener. You hook that on the edge of the can, and you poke down and open the can. Not a really sharp blade, but you really don't need a really sharp blade there to open a can. Once you puncture it with this, it pretty much does it. And then last but not least, we have a file, a fine file with a ruler on the back side, which is about maybe 2¼ inches, something like that. If you need to measure something, you know, I guess it's okay to have them there. I don't know what you need to measure 2 inches, but there you go, you got that. And on the other handle, you got a large flathead, and they also have 3 hex wrenches and different sizes hex wrenches. Then you also have a bottle opener here, and then I think they're calling this a nail puller. You know, I guess you would maybe pry up a nail like so, and you could, you know, pull it up. I've been working in construction most of my life. I'm betting you ain't pulling many nails with that, but it's there. Then we have a small screwdriver. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. You have a small screwdriver here. And so we got a small flathead. And then we also have a saw. And then it's got a small saw here. One of the things I like about these small saws is if you need to make a notch for a trap or a pot hook or whatever, these small saws can come in really handy. Make it nice, get a really small, straight, you can get a really straight kind of a edge for a notch. And then get your knife blade out. And man, this is some hard stinking wood right here, man. I don't know what it is, but it is hard. But nice little notch. So Oh, by the way, I'm not sure how much I have to measure with this ruler, but here's something it is good for. So it'll definitely makes a good striker for a ferro rod. Let's grab a piece of wire and see how well this stuff cuts. So I've got here some small wire here. I find a lot of times the smaller wire is a better test of the jaws of cutters of these things than the larger wire, because sometimes it'll slip between the blades of the cutter if they're not properly lined. And this is exactly the kind of wire you're going to have if you're trying to, in your survival kit, if you're going to try to snare a small animal. So I think it's a good test of these things, because this is not going to be your main electrician type tools anyway. So let's just see how well it cuts, this small wire. So works just fine on the snare wire. Okay, so that was just a few practical tests and look at the features of the ST10 multi-tool from the folks at Schrade. I want to kind of show you all the features without making a 30-minute video, so we did a couple of things with it, but let me just tell you the pros and cons, in my opinion, what I like and maybe I'm not so fond about in this, and we'll wrap this up. First of all, I like the price. This thing is 16 bucks on Amazon. That's a very exceptional value. I think it appears to be very well made, well constructed. It's not the greatest steel in the world, but for a multi-tool, it's probably just fine. This is not going to be anybody's primary knife. It's kind of a backup deal. One thing I forgot to mention is the spring-loaded, which I like that. You don't have to open and close it. You can just keep it. It's going to spring itself open, which I think is a pretty cool feature. The handles are pretty comfortable if you're using it for a pair of pliers. I like the fact that the needle nose, that it does mate up very, very cleanly. And if you really need to use these for a pair of tweezers, you probably could. I like the fine blade. It's got a nice, just a spear point blade on it. Again, I like the fact that the Phillips head screwdriver is small enough to get into a little bit of a deeper well. Got a long enough shank on it, kind of. Got two flat heads. That's pretty cool. Bottle opener, can opener. That's all good. The file doubles as a striker, which is pretty good. It's probably not going to be the greatest file in the world. I have 2CR. You're not going to file anything really heavy, really hard with this. But for doing minor tasks on soft materials, it might be okay. I like the fact that these hex wrenches, if it's the right size for you, it looks like they're about 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 and 5/16, if I had to guess. But I like that they're on a kind of a bar here, so that you can get some leverage behind it. You're just gonna have to make sure you turn your handle properly, because if you do it this way, obviously it's going to close on you. But if you turn it this way, or turn it over this way if you're loosening or tightening, it gives you a pretty good bit of leverage to use them instead of just a twist thing. That's a pretty good idea. And then I like having a saw. Now, having said that, the saw's okay. I don't think it is up to par with like a Swiss Army knife saw, but if you just need to carve some small notches or whatever, it's going to do it. Again, $17 tool. We got to keep that stuff in mind when you're comparing stuff. So the negatives for me would probably be the 2CR13 steel. Really, the only other kind of negative for me, based again that it's a $17 tool, is the fact that the blades don't lock, especially the cutting blade. Now, but when you do fold it up, it does provide some safety. It's not going to close on you. I like to see a locking blade on any kind of folding knife like that. Oh, and I also really like the fact that it's got this molded belt sheath. It just fits in there very nicely. So, who's this for and who's it not for? I think if you're looking for to have the functionality of a pair of pliers, maybe a wire cutter, to repair something in the field, to have a decent little pair of pliers that's not going to set you back an arm and a leg, this could be a good option for you. Again, it's 16 bucks. However, if you're looking to use this in your job on a daily basis, every day, I know some people do use a multi-tool constantly on their job, and you're going to put a lot of hard use on it, and you might be better off with a more expensive model. But for the average person, I think this is probably going to do just fine. And again, it's only 16 bucks, so if it gets the job done for you, then you'll probably be happy with it. So anyway, if you're looking for a low cost, a pretty high quality for the money multi-tool, you might want to check out the ST10 from the folks at Schrade. Once again, thanks to the folks at Schrade for sending me this so I can show it to you. And as always, thank you for watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for subscribing, for clicking that thumbs up, for sharing this video with all your friends, and thank you so much for doing your Amazon shopping through the Survival on Purpose links. I really appreciate the support. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared, and I'll see you next time. And actually, oh, it's got that molded. So without a lot of further rambling,